Hi, I want to give you a brief overview of Access. So let's look at some things that Access can do. When you open up Access, if you open up a blank Access database or just open up Access without opening up something you've already done before, you can open up a blank database. And one of the new things in Access 2010 and 2007 are all these templates that they give you. So you could look at some of these templates and see what all they provide. I'm not going to do that in this video. I want to show you how to develop your own database. These templates are really nice. Someone's put a lot of effort into these. But you would start with a blank database and give it some name over here, and make sure you know where you save it. The default is in Documents, but make sure you know where it is, because I don't know where you've saved it. This is the default. So that's the idea. And then you don't need to save the database. The database is saved automatically. You can save tables and you can save queries and forms, but you don't save the database. That's all done automatically. Here's a database that I've created called the Training Database. And this Training Database has 3 tables. These are taken from the Northwind database. That's a sample database provided by Microsoft. I've got a table of products. I didn't enter all this stuff. This was provided by Microsoft. And here's some supplier representatives. So these are people you talk to about buying these supplies for you. And here are some suppliers that I just added. Now none of these tables are related together, by the way. These are all just separate tables. They could be in Excel. But a relational database will relate these tables together. Let's look at the design of this. This is all the records. And these are all the fields that have been added. If I click on the design view, I'm going to hide the properties sheet. I don't really need to see that now. These are the columns or fields that describe the table called products. Products is called an entity. And these fields have names and they have data types, like the name is a text data type. The description is a memo data type. I might change that to text because you can't search memo. Memo gives you can write a lot more things. In fact, I think I will change it to text. Cost is currency, price is currency. They don't have any dates here associated with products, but they all have different data types. Now, one data type that I'll expect you to work with is called the lookup data type, and this shows as text, but when you create a new one, it'll show lookup. When you look up, when you have a lookup data type, you're looking up fields that you've entered or are in another table, and you can look up those. So that's a lookup data type. So where's my lookup? Here's the category. When I click on it, here are all the different items that I can enter, and that way I don't make typos or enter categories that don't make sense or are redundant. So that's the basic idea. You should be able to go between the design view and the view that the data sheet view is what this is called. There's these other views, but you typically go between the design view and the data sheet view. Now here's one called Supplier Representatives, and here's suppliers. I just added these. You can create forms from tables. So here's just click on form. There's a form, and then I can adjust it in this layout view. Maybe I don't like having these boxes around the text, and so I could go to properties and where is it? I think it's border transparent. Now I can't see that. I just think that looks better. And you could click on that and it opens up a browser that goes to the link. And that's a form, and you go back and forth between the layout view and the normal view, the form view, and there's a design view that lets you do more things. So the next thing I want to show you is how to link 2 tables together. A supplier representative works for a supplier. I don't have the supplier in this table because the supplier table has a lot more information about the supplier that I don't want to have repeated in this table of supplier representatives. In other words, all this data, if I included all this data in this table, it would be redundant and it would increase the amount of memory I need. And so instead of doing that, I'm going to create a link. If I can get to the bottom here, there we go. I'm going to create a link that is the supplier's name, and it's going to be a lookup. So I just clicked on L. I'm going to do the Lookup Wizard, and I'm going to look up a field in another table. That other table is this suppliers table. Now I'm doing this kind of quick, but I need that ID, then I want some other information that I can pick from a list and see the appropriate information. And I want to hide the key. It's still there, you just can't see it. And now I want to move this up here so I can see it and show it to you. So now when I go to the datasheet view, here's the supplier's name, and I can say, well, it's Menards, and this person is a sales manager at Panera's, and this person is the sales representative for Menards, and this person is the marketing manager for Menards. So I don't have to include all this information about Menards. I just have a link in this field that links to that table that then has all this other information available about the supplier. That's the idea in relational databases. And if I was to create a form from this, it would carry over this capability. So if I go into the datasheet view and I'll move to a blank one here, I can see this lookup right here. So it prevents me from typing in a bunch of garbage, because you don't want to be able to do that. So it only lets you enter information from the list. So that's the basic idea. Now when I close these, when I do Control W, I'll save this form. And here I'm closing, I'll save that form. I never really saved the database. I can close the database here, and all the things that I did will be saved, but you don't save the database. You save these tables and these forms and things like that, but you don't save the actual database. It's always being saved, and it's always being saved to the place where you initially created it. So that's an overview. I'll do one more thing. I'll create a query. Well, wait, I want to show you that now under Database Tools and Relationships, we see these tables are related. They're related by this link here. That link there links supplier name to this table here, and it does it via this ID. This ID is key. It's the primary key. It's important. I'll create a query and then a report from that query. So in query, I prefer to do this query design. I want to see all the suppliers and the names of their representatives. So I'll click on the supplier name and who they are, and the first and last name and their job title. Then I can run this, and this is a query, and I can save this query and I'll call it suppliers, and I'll give it suppliers query. It's just telling me don't confuse yourself, don't give it the same name as something else. Then I could create a report from this query, and I like to have the reports all fit on one page, and so you adjust all these fields so that things tend to fit. It's sometimes not as easy as I'm making it look here to fit everything on one page, but that's the idea. And I could group by company name, and then I save this, and I'll call it suppliers report. Now I have a report that shows my suppliers. And if I go back and add some things, like I add Wasserstrom and Panaras, I'm just sort of doing this randomly, and then I go to the report and I refresh, then those fields, those records that I added are included in the report. So that's the basic idea. So I'll close. I think before I close this, I'll show you how to what can happen if you want to break certain things or do something that may sound wrong. For example, to you, I want to delete this. For some reason, I want to delete that field, and it's going to say you can't delete that. It's part of a relationship. You need to delete it in the relationships window first. Well, that means you go here to relationships, and you have to click on that link there, and I'll hit the delete key, and now I've broken that relationship. And I can close this, and now I can delete that field. So now that field is deleted, and I had to go to this relationships view to see those relationships so that I could delete them. So I just quit, and my database, everything is saved, and there it is sitting right there. So that's a brief overview of working with databases.